I need to tell you something, and I need you to stay with me, because what I am about to say is going to sound strange at first, and then it is going to sound familiar, and then if you are honest with yourself, it is going to hurt a little. I was married for 52 years, 52 years, to the same woman, in the same bed, in the same house. We raised 3 children together. We buried a child together. We sat at the same table every morning for 5 decades and drank coffee from the same pot. And for most of those years, I was lonely. Not the kind of lonely you feel when you are by yourself. That kind is easy. You can fix that with a phone call or a walk outside. No, I mean the kind of lonely that lives inside a crowded room. The kind that sits next to you at dinner while your wife is telling a story and the children are laughing and you are smiling and nodding, and inside you are somewhere else entirely. Somewhere no one can reach you. That is the loneliness I am talking about, and I want to tell you how I got there. Because you are on your way. I can see it. You are scrolling right now looking for something. Connection. Meaning. The right person. And I am an old man with very little time left, and I am asking you to stop scrolling for 12 minutes and listen to me, because nobody told me what I am about to tell you, and it cost me everything. Her name was Margaret. Maggie, I called her. She hated it at first. Then she loved it. That is how it works when you are young and in love. Everything the other person does becomes something you love. The way she tilted her head when she was thinking. The way she hummed while she washed dishes. The way she smelled like lavender and something I could never name. I met her at a dance hall in 1971. She walked in wearing a yellow dress and I stopped mid-sentence. My friend Thomas was talking to me about something. Baseball, I think. I did not hear another word he said for the rest of the night. I thought, this is it. This is what they write songs about. My heart was hammering. My palms were wet. I could not eat the next day. I could not concentrate at work. Every song on the radio was about her. Every quiet moment was filled with her face. I thought that feeling was love. I was wrong. I did not know it then. I was 24 years old and I knew nothing about anything, though I was absolutely certain I knew everything. That is the particular arrogance of being young, isn't it? You are certain. About everything, especially about love. We dated for 8 months, we got engaged, we got married in a small church on a Saturday in October. She was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen standing at that altar. I cried. I am not ashamed to say it. I stood at that altar and I cried because I was certain I had found the answer to every question I had ever had. I had not found the answer. I had found the question. Here is what nobody told me. And I want you to listen carefully, because this is the part that changes everything. That feeling, that hammering heart, that inability to eat or sleep or think straight, that electric current that runs through you when they walk into the room. That is not love. I know. I know. You do not want to hear that. You have been told your whole life that feeling is the goal. Every movie you have ever watched ends the moment 2 people feel it for each other. The credits roll right there. Because what comes after is the part nobody wants to show you. But I need to show you. There is a neuroscientist named Helen Fisher. She spent decades studying the brain in love. What she found is that when you fall in love, your brain lights up in the same regions as a cocaine addiction. The same regions. Dopamine floods your system. Norepinephrine makes your heart race. Serotonin drops, which is why you cannot think about anything else. You are not experiencing love. You are experiencing a chemical hijacking. And here is the part that should terrify you. It has an expiration date. On average, that chemical state lasts between 18 months and 3 years. Nature designed it that way. It is not a flaw. It is a feature. Nature needs you to bond long enough to produce a child. After that, the chemicals begin to recede. The fog begins to lift. And you are left standing face to face with a real human being, not the projection your brain was making them into, but the actual person. with real flaws and real moods and real habits that drive you to the edge of your patience. The movies never show you that morning. I remember my morning. We had been married about 2.5 years. It was a Wednesday, February, I think. Cold outside, gray. The kind of morning that has no color in it. Maggie was sitting across from me at the breakfast table. She was eating toast. She was reading something. The newspaper, maybe, or a letter from her mother. I do not remember exactly. What I remember is looking at her and feeling nothing. Not dislike, not anger, nothing. Like looking at a piece of furniture. Something familiar and functional that you stopped seeing years ago. The mystery was gone. The electricity was gone. I looked at this woman I had promised my entire life to, and I felt a hollow, quiet emptiness in my chest. And my first thought was, I have made a terrible mistake. My second thought was, I need to get out. I did not get out. I want to be clear about that. I stayed, but I stayed for the wrong reasons at first. Pride, fear. The children came, and I stayed for them. I stayed out of obligation, and staying out of obligation is its own kind of prison. You are in the house, but you are behind glass. You can see your life happening, but you cannot feel it. You are a guest in your own marriage. For 10 years I lived like that. 10 years of being polite. 10 years of going through the motions. Dinners, holidays, vacations. From the outside we looked fine. People would say what a lovely couple, and I would smile. And inside I would feel this quiet grief that I had no name for. I blamed her. That is the honest truth. I thought she had changed. I thought the woman I married had somehow been replaced by this ordinary person. I looked at other women and wondered, what if? I nursed small resentments like they were precious things. The way she interrupted me, the way she spent money, the way she could never just let a thing go. I was not looking at her. I was looking at myself. Because here is what I understand now that I did not understand then. The loneliness I felt in that marriage was not her fault. She could not fill a hole in me that I had never shown her. I had never told her what I actually needed. I had never asked her what she actually needed. We were two people living parallel lives, polite and careful, never once going deep enough to find each other. That is the loneliness I am talking about, not the absence of a person, the absence of truth between two people. I want to give you what I eventually learned, but I want to be honest with you. I did not learn these things gracefully. I learned them the hard way, through failure, through years of silence at dinner tables and nights lying awake staring at the ceiling. I am telling you this so you do not have to learn it the same way. The first thing is this. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the only door. For the first decade of my marriage I was performing. I was performing strength. I was performing certainty. I was performing the role of a man who had everything handled. And Maggie was on the other side of a wall I had built so carefully that even I forgot it was there. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote that a man's life is what his thoughts make it. I had a thought, buried so deep I almost never found it, that said, if she knew the real me, the frightened, uncertain, sometimes lost real me, she would leave. So I never showed her. And in hiding myself, I lost her. Not physically. She was right there. But you cannot be close to a performance. You can only be close to a person. The day I finally broke, the day I sat at that kitchen table and said out loud, I do not know what I am doing and I am scared, and I think I have wasted years of our life, that was the day our marriage actually began. I was 47 years old. We had been married 23 years. The second thing, you must learn how to fight. Not how to win, how to fight. There is a difference that will either save your marriage or destroy it. I used to fight to win. I was good at it. I was sharp with words, and I knew her weaknesses, and when I was angry I would use them. I told myself I was just being honest. I was not being honest. I was being cruel and calling it honesty because it made me feel better about myself. Watch how a person fights before you marry them. Not whether they fight, everyone fights, but how. Do they attack your character? Do they bring up old wounds? Do they go silent for days to punish you? Do they need to see you lose before they can feel safe? Because in 52 years of marriage you will fight hundreds of times. The content of the fights does not matter very much. You will fight about money and children and whose turn it is to call the plumber. None of that matters. What matters is whether you can fight and come back. Whether you can say the hard thing and then sit together on the same couch an hour later and still feel like you are on the same team. Maggie and I learned this slowly, painfully. We had a rule eventually. No matter how bad the fight, we did not leave. We stayed in the house. We stayed in the conversation even when we needed an hour of quiet. Because leaving, even just walking out the door, tells the other person something. It tells them you might not come back. And once that fear lives in a marriage, it never fully leaves. The third thing, boredom is not the enemy of love. Boredom is the home love lives in. You are terrified of boredom. I know because I was terrified of it too. We live in a world that has made boredom feel like failure. If things are quiet, something must be wrong. If there are no fireworks, the love must be dead. So you chase the fireworks. You manufacture drama. You mistake intensity for intimacy. They are not the same thing. Some of the most loving moments of my marriage were the most ordinary moments in the world. A Sunday afternoon doing nothing, sitting on the porch while the neighborhood went quiet, watching her fall asleep in the chair while the television played. No drama, no electricity, just her breathing and the clock ticking and the feeling of not needing anything else in the world. The ancient Greeks had a word for this. They called it storge. It is the love of familiarity, the love that comes not from excitement, but from deep, settled knowing. It is the love that says, I have seen you at your worst and your most ordinary, and I am still here. That is not a small thing. That is everything. The fourth thing, and this is the most important, you must choose each other on purpose, every day, not just once at an altar. I made a vow in 1971, and I thought the vow was the work. It was not. The vow was the beginning. The work was every day after. Every morning you wake up, you are a slightly different person than you were the day before, and so are they. Marriage is not a destination you arrive at. It is two people agreeing over and over again to keep finding each other, to keep being curious about each other, to keep asking, who are you now? Not who were you when I married you, but who are you today? I stopped asking Maggie that question for too many years. When I started asking again, I discovered a woman I had never fully met. Let me tell you what I want for you. Not passion. Passion is real, but it is temporary. It is a season, not a climate. You cannot build a life on a season. Not excitement. Excitement is the feeling of not knowing what comes next. It is wonderful for a weekend. It is exhausting for a lifetime. What I want for you is what the Japanese call ma. It is the word for meaningful space. The pause between notes that makes the music beautiful. The quiet between two people who do not need to fill every silence because the silence itself is full. I want you to find someone whose silence feels like home. Not the person who makes your heart race. The person who makes your heart slow down. The person in whose presence you do not need to perform, do not need to be more or less than you are. The person who sees the whole of you, the parts you are proud of and the parts you are ashamed of, and stays. That is not settling. That is the highest form of love there is. I wasted years believing that the absence of fireworks meant the absence of love. I was measuring the wrong thing. I was measuring feeling when I should have been measuring choice. Every morning Maggie woke up and chose to be in this life with me. Even during the years I was cold and distant and lost. She chose. Every single day she chose. I did not understand the magnitude of that until the end. The room was small, a hospital room, the kind with a window that looks out at nothing, a parking lot, gray sky. There was a machine keeping rhythm for her, a steady, patient beeping that became the only sound in the world. Her hand was in mine. It felt so small. I kept thinking how strange it was that the hand I had held 1,000 times now felt like something precious I had almost lost without knowing it. Her skin was thin like paper. I could see the blue of her veins. She opened her eyes once, just once. And she looked at me, not the way she looked at me when we were young, not with that flash and fire, but with something much older than that. Something that had been built slowly, the way you build a cathedral, stone by stone over a lifetime. She said 3 words. She said, "You stayed, Arthur." That was it. Not "I love you." Not "it was a good life." Just, "You stayed." And I understood then that staying, the 10,000 small daily acts of staying, was the whole thing. That was the love. Not the yellow dress in 1971, not the hammering heart at the dance hall, but 52 years of mornings, 52 years of showing up, of being imperfect and frightened and staying anyway. She died on a Thursday morning in November. I drove home alone. I walked into the kitchen. The coffee pot was still there, 2 cups on the counter. I stood there for a long time. I have not moved the cups. I am tired now. I want to be honest with you. This kind of remembering takes something out of you when you are my age. But I needed to tell you that. Not because I want you to feel sad. I do not want that. I want you to feel something shift in you. Some small, quiet shift toward what matters. Toward the person already beside you, maybe. Or toward the kind of person you are becoming, the kind of person worthy of that kind of love. If you are young, you have something I no longer have. Time. Do not waste it chasing the feeling. Chase the person. Chase the friendship. Chase the one who tells you the truth and stays in the room. And if something I said today reached you somewhere real, somewhere you needed it, stay with us here. Subscribe. Not for me. For the version of you sitting in a chair 40 years from now, hoping you made the right choices, because you will sit in that chair. We all sit in that chair. Make sure when you do, the memory you carry is one you can live with. That is all. That is everything.